closer. This camera is got like a super zoom lens, so we can only see this, yeah?
Yeah, you could cover the van behind Tony and around here.
Okay, so can anyone describe what's happening here? Yeah, okay, but yeah, I'm obviously censoring, but what can you see that's happening? So I'm holding the tool on an angle. I'm not really using the flat of it yet. I'm holding it like this. So it's sort of, you know, if this is the plaster, it's the point that's touching it. I'm just cutting through. What is this telling you?
Taking away the high points.
Taking away the high points, yeah. So at this point where I've now got a line that goes all the way around, that's the first part that's being censored. Okay, so I'm finally censoring it. You'll notice that I'm also working at this end. Don't go all the way down, because that's the sort of like, you know, the sort of high points, if you like. So I'm sort of taking some time to do this well. But I'm not using a big, if I use a big flat tool, then you get that sort of like crunching where it sort of slows down and the tool catches. I'm sort of, it's going to take 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm sort of doing it in a respectful way. I'm not like, you know, using a chisel that's this wide and going flat in, because it just stops and it's like it grabs the tool, it's quite dangerous. Okay?
Yeah, the corner's kind of scratching it.
Yeah.
It's not going to take the tool with it. It's
Yeah,
such a tiny point.
Yeah, exactly. Cutting it, and I'm just thinking that the censoring takes a few minutes. There's no shortcuts. I'm going to get that here or something.
And I'll do it.
Yeah. But you know how to do it?
No, that's another one of your phrases, Tony.
Oh, okay. So, pretty centered cylinder. And now I can start referring to the drawing. I don't need to get this, I'm not going to waste energy getting the cylinder perfect. It's now centered, that's all I needed it to do. Okay. So I'm going to start to transfer the information onto it. So the first thing I need is the widest dimension. Does anyone have a curve on this? You want packets? You got them in the... Yeah, so you've got those big ones that you can just pull. Yeah? In your kit. They're for over there. Okay? Not for over here. Over here, we use it so it's really accurate because what? Because this sort of is going to take a long time. So when I sort of measure this, I don't want me to put it down on here, and vibrate and tap, and then the dimensions change. So that dial, it's called a dial calculator, that dial holds it in place with the big soft ones that you sort of tighten the top. They're for throwing. Throwing is by definition a little bit more sloppy than over here. Okay? So we don't use those ones. And they are, like, it's great to own them, but you don't have to own them, but you can put them in the thing down there. Okay. Do you have a proper pencil? That's just one.
Okay.
Do you have a pencil on? I just promise you get it back. Thanks very much. Okay, so the first time I do this, is I offer the caliper up against here. This has now got the sort of correct dimension, but it's at this first go, it's a sort of guess, because I don't know if I put the caliper sort of centered, you know. So what I do is I've guessed, I put the mark, and then I sort of use the lathe to draw the circle, but then let's check again, because if the mark is too far out, what will happen to the circle? It will be, sorry? Too big. So the circle will be too big. So I have to check that with this again, and it's ever so slightly too big. So come and look. You're probably going to need to be a bit more active, come forward.
There's a really good view from here.
Yeah, just come up closer. So I just tried. Unfortunately for you, I made a pretty good guess, so it's quite accurate. But you can see that the line is just a bit bigger than the caliper. So actually, if I'm going to use that, it's just a bit over, so I'm going to use that as a guide.
I'm filming it with Imogen, but she's not here.
Just so that's just a secret hand signal. Okay, so at the widest dimension, it's about 1 millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters wider, so that's quite useful at this point. And now I'm going to turn a cylinder, but that's that dimension all the way down. As I said, just accepting, it's sort of, there's a phrase that you may have come across, some of you won't have, because it's sort of an English colloquial phrase, horses for courses, which relates to horse racing. But basically plaster, what it gives you is accuracy and repetition at the casting stage. So it's accepting that the model is going to take some time. Just accepting that, just going, plaster is slower than throwing. What I get sort of tortoise in the hare, you know, like I get the sort of production and get the ability to reproduce further down the line, but the model is going to take some time. It's a slow process, particularly if you want to do it well. There's no point rushing it and then getting like a shit model with like marks on the surface or whatever, and then you're sort of essentially regretting, like, or not regretting, you will regret, but like then we get these marks and we get repetition of a bad model. So you go really slow and methodically here, and you gain the speed 4 weeks later at the casting stage. Just accepting that what I'm doing in plaster is I'm trying to build and make something really accurate. So you're behind me, you should be more active. You should be moving around trying to get in and see. This camera is really only facing here, and we're going to like edit because there's no point in filming me for 20 minutes censoring. So if someone's head pops in the way, don't worry about it. But I think you need to be more active and coming up. So one of the things to sort of look at here is the way I'm standing and holding. The way I'm holding the tool. So at the moment, my grip, so the arm is in against my body, my feet are apart, and I'm really pressing down with this hand and pressing forward with this. There's no power in this hand, this is sort of like accuracy, and the power, or there's a bit of forward momentum, but I'm really pressing down with this. I'm sort of holding my finger is here and my thumb is here, so there's no movement. Any movement in the tool and you get vibration, we call it chattering, and you get a surface sort of vibration you may have experienced, it's really difficult to remove. So like the whole where you hold your body and the sort of present yourself to the machine is really important. Okay, so the act of turning it took away the line. So first thing before I'm going to try and get this a little bit more smooth, but I put that line back in because I need to know where the bottom of the object is. And then one of the mistakes that people, so it's, you know, when Ian suggested this idea of a masterclass where we were really taken with it, was the idea of, you know, like talking about position. And one of the things that people do a lot is they don't move the armrest. The greater that gap gets, so the greater the gap gets from here to here, the more likely you get vibration. Can you see that? Is he stood in your way?
No, it's alright.
Yeah.
Is the back of your finger kind of acting as a guide here to make sure it just stays on the level?
Sorry?
Is the back of your finger against the metal? Is that kind of acting as a guide to just make sure it stays on the same level?
Yeah, well, the tool rest is the guide. This is making sure I'm focusing against the tool rest. If I did it one-handed, I wouldn't be like... a lot of the time, if we were demonstrating the whirler, it's easier to... So when you use the whirler, it's a sort of easier thing to demonstrate, but I always talk about you become part of the machine. You have to, like, because this is bolted down. So for my tool to sort of cut accurately, I need to become like connected to the machine. So when we do the whirler, I was talking about leaning in, and so I transfer my body weight into the tool, and then I hold the tool like this, and I become like really sort of fluid. Now, what people never do is copy my body position. They stand upright, and they sort of like stand like, and so they vibrate. Whereas I sort of lean in, and I sort of become like very much part of the machine. And that transfer of body weight is effectively me connecting to the machine. Same thing is happening here with how I'm holding the tool. There's no vibration, so you're not getting that. You probably, when you did it the first time, you had that, it's like a and you get, and it goes round, and then you're like, and that surface is so like minute. It's really difficult to sort of get rid of. And it comes from literally how you're presenting your body and tool to the machine. So yeah, so this is sort of where I'm pressing down here, and I'm moving in.
It's a solid piece of metal, so you can definitely put body weight on it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the bottom, so I keep putting that information back in. And I'm measuring from the top, and this is going to, because of the geometry, the convention would normally be to like have the widest parts closest to the machine, but this is cylindrical with a little detail, so it's not an issue. But so ordinarily, I would have the foot out here so I could turn the foot into the model. But because of this sort of geometry, I'm going to work the other way around, because this is more difficult than the foot. I can put that in later. So I'm going to have the flat area here, and I'm going to measure. So I need to calculate this distance, but I'm not going to measure up. I'm going to measure from the top down. Okay, so I'm going to check something because Ian's a good designer and he understands ceramics, and I haven't studied this. He sent me this drawing last night, so I basically asked for a drawing that was related to your project, so that's all. And then like figuring out how to like extend it, which is where the sort of faceting came from. But I have a hunch that this is actually not a true cylinder, but actually conical. So I'm going to measure this dimension. Okay, yeah, so look, there's the dimension at the top, and it's got about a 2mm angle on it. So basically at this line here, where I measured, I know that it's 2mm less this point. First time I've used my new chisel. I basically got some money. I have like a fund for myself, like a research fund, and it always runs out. I always never spend it. So at the end of the year, a colleague said, "Why didn't you buy tools with it?" So I've had this tool since I was 1 year behind you in college. So basically my first year. Oh no, your first year. So I've had this tool since you're like you. 30, nearly 30 years ago, and it was really long and it's got shorter as I've sort of continually sharpened it. Anyway, and this was like from B&Q or something, it was like £6. So with my research fund I actually bought a Japanese chisel, £40. That was the first bit of cutting I've done with it. I can't tell you if it's any better. No.
So, Tony, when you wear it down by using it, do you go over and sand it afterwards?
You polish it, yes, so you go on a grinding wheel and polish it back. So it'll last a while, but plaster will wear it down.
And is there a specific angle that you do it from?
No, just sort of that. No real. That one's steeper.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, as long as it comes through a blade.
Isn't the bottom of the model supposed to be on this side?
This end?
Yeah.
That's what I said, that's how I would ordinarily do it.
Okay.
But because of this geometry, it's going to be easier for me to work from this direction, because I'm going to score this information in. So I've made a judgment to do it the other way around.
Right.
Where you are correct. Yeah. So do you know how to use these? Yeah? So until it sort of slides past it and just touches the outside, so at the moment it's too high, so it's not. I need to take more information, more plaster away. Okay. So this is now good. So now I'm not going to bother with this area, I'm going to join that to the top. there's hardly any pressure, I'm like just touching it. Really be active and coming, because you can't see how little I'm touching this from all the way over there. You need to come forward.
Just to let you know it's 11.
Yeah, we'll come again.
Okay.
Well,